It's just after dawn and we embark on a journey that will take us 51 miles from the Atlantic Ocean across the Isthmus of Panama south to the Pacific. Ahead of us is the flight of locks at Gatun that mark the Atlantic gateway to the canal. The locks lift shipping 85 feet and place them in the man-made Gatun Lake. After the 23-mile crossing of the lake, ships enter the 8-mile Culebra Cut. After this, they descend to the Pacific via the single Pedro Miguel lock and finally the two Miraflores locks. There are two chambers side by side at each level and both contain shipping, so we'll have to wait. In the starboard chamber is the Fred Olsen cruise liner Balmoral, and once she clears, the chamber will be prepared for us. The sluices lower the level of water so that the gates can open. It takes 22 million gallons of fresh water to raise or lower a single vessel through this flight of 3 locks. With the water level equalized, the gates open, allowing us to start our passage. Acting on orders from the pilot on the bridge, the drivers of the electric locomotives, which are known as mules, although animals have never been used for this task, keep the ship from touching the sides of the chamber. The ship itself moves forward using her own propulsion system. There's just 2 feet clearance between our hull and the sides of the chamber. The American designers used a series of locks at both sides to raise the waterway to cross the country, and at the spine they made an 8-mile cut. Most of the waterway consists of 2 large man-made lakes. It takes 2 hours to navigate this flight of 3 locks, and 85 feet below, ships are preparing to follow us. The canal was completed in 1914 at a cost of $350 million. Ships using the waterway reduced the journey from New York to San Francisco by nearly 8,000 miles. The man-made Gatun Lake, which acts as both waterway and reservoir for the operation of the locks, was formed by flooding a large valley. Whilst lack of water is obviously not a problem in Panama, it still took 7 years for the lake to fill. Here at Pedro Miguel, we can watch a large ship navigate the lock. In particular, we'll see how the pilot uses the mules to carefully maintain the position of the vessel. It takes 8 of them to control a ship of this size. 2 are placed either side at the bow, with 1 each side midships and at the stern. Their job is to ensure that the vessel remains in the centre of the chamber, whilst the ship moves forward under her own power. To keep the ship in position, the operators either tighten or loosen their hawsers as instructed by the pilot over the radio. To avoid confusion, only the pilot has voice contact. The bells you hear are the drivers acknowledging his commands. Had it been built in 2011, we would have marvelled at what had been achieved using today's machinery and technology. How much more impressive is it that it was built 100 years ago and remains operational and unchanged to this day. It was early morning when we set out, and now as we pass under the Bridge of Americas to enter the Pacific, the sun is setting. Our transit of the Panama Canal is complete.